If you followed a wealthy person for a single day, you might expect to see something extraordinary. But what you'd actually notice are tiny routines, so small they look unimportant. Yet those quiet habits are the very reason they're rich today. Because wealth is never built in one big leap. It's built in the small steps no one else is willing to take. The mistake most people make is believing that riches arrive suddenly, like a lightning strike. One brilliant idea, one lucky break, one bold gamble. But the truth is far less dramatic and far more demanding. Wealth, in its truest form, is not the product of a single event. It is the slow, deliberate harvest of habits repeated day after day, year after year. If you walk through history, you will not find men and women of wealth who stumbled upon it overnight. What you will find are individuals who practice disciplines so simple, so unremarkable, that most of the world ignored them. They rose a little earlier, they saved a little more, they studied a little longer, they made decisions with patience when others acted on impulse. These were not grand gestures, they were micro-habits, small hinges that moved the great doors of fortune. Habits shape destiny. You and I are not defined by what we occasionally do, but by what we do consistently. And if wealth is your aim, wealth not only of money, but of freedom, of stability, of opportunity, then it will not be built in dramatic leaps. It will be built quietly, in the daily patterns you choose to keep. The challenge is that these habits often look too small to matter. A man who reads for 20 minutes each morning does not appear richer than the man who does not. A woman who chooses to save a portion of her earnings looks no wealthier than the one who spends it all. The difference is invisible today, but unmistakable tomorrow. For small habits, compounded over time, create vast differences in outcome. This is why the majority never reach wealth. They dismiss the small steps. They are looking for something grand, something immediate, something spectacular. And in their haste, they overlook the quiet, steady practices that make all the difference. The wealthy, however, know a secret. If you master the little things, the big things will take care of themselves. Think of the mason laying bricks. One brick appears insignificant. 2, 3, perhaps even a row still look unimpressive. But brick after brick, day after day, soon forms a wall, then a house, then a fortress. Wealth is much the same. Each micro-habit is a single brick. Alone, it seems trivial. Together, it becomes unshakable. And so, as we explore these 5 micro-habits, understand this. None will sound glamorous. None will dazzle you with promises of quick riches. But they are the very practices that separate those who dream of wealth from those who achieve it. They are the small hinges that move great doors, the steady strokes that carve the masterpiece, the daily disciplines that transform ordinary lives into extraordinary ones. If you wish to know why some rise to prosperity while others remain where they began, it is not luck, it is not fate, it is not even genius. It is the quiet commitment to micro-habits, the simple, disciplined choices that wealthy people never skip. Guarding the first hour. The first hour of the day is the foundation upon which all the others rest. Most people stumble into it carelessly, rising late, rushing into noise, and surrendering their thoughts to whatever demands shout the loudest. But the wealthy do something very different. They guard it. They treat it as sacred ground because they know that the mind at dawn is like soft clay. Whatever shapes it takes in the beginning will harden into form for the rest of the day. Wealthy people begin their day with discipline, not distraction. Their first hour is not wasted on idle chatter or frantic busyness. It is used for clarity. Some read, feeding their minds with wisdom before the world has a chance to scatter their focus. Others plan, laying out the day with deliberate intention. Many reflect, sitting in silence to direct their thoughts toward what truly matters. However they use it, they approach it with purpose. Why does this matter? Because the first hour sets the tone for every decision that follows. A man who begins his day scattered will make scattered choices. A woman who begins in haste will carry haste into her work, but one who begins with order, with quiet strength, with clarity of mind, she will carry those same qualities through every hour that follows. Success is not built in the grand moments of life. It is built in the quiet rituals that repeat day after day. And there's no ritual more powerful than the one that shapes the dawn, for he who owns the morning owns the day. Think of the soldier preparing for battle. He does not rush unprepared into the field. He sharpens his weapon, studies his plan, steadies his mind. The wealthy approach their day in the same way. Their first hour is their preparation, their sharpening, their steadying. It gives them the advantage before the world has even begun to stir. Most dismiss this habit because it looks too small. What difference can an hour make, they say. But the wealthy know that the difference is vast. An hour at the beginning, used with intention, multiplies into better decisions, clearer focus, and stronger resolve all day long. The one who wastes it pays the price not once, but over and over, in mistakes, delays, and scattered energy. Guarding the first hour does not require brilliance. It requires commitment. Rising a little earlier, resisting the pull of haste, choosing reflection over reaction. These are not dramatic acts. They are simple, steady choices. But these choices, repeated faithfully, compound into a mind that is sharper, calmer, and better prepared than the rest. And so, while most people drift into their days unprepared, the wealthy begin with clarity. That clarity becomes discipline. That discipline becomes action. And those actions, repeated across years, become wealth. This is the power of the first hour. It is small, it is quiet, and it is one of the greatest secrets of the wealthy. Measuring before spending. The path to wealth is not only about what you earn, it is about what you keep, and more importantly, how you use it. Most people treat money carelessly. Coins slip through their fingers like water. Small purchases go unnoticed, and little leaks become floods over time. But the wealthy are different. They never let money slip away unnoticed. Every coin has a purpose. Every choice is weighed. They understand that fortune is lost in pennies before it is ever lost in pounds. This does not mean they are miserly or enslaved by fear of spending. No, wealthy people spend freely when the purchase aligns with their values or their vision, but they do not spend thoughtlessly. To them, each coin is a seed. It can be planted to grow, or it can be consumed and gone forever. And like any wise farmer, they choose planting more often than consumption. Why is this so powerful? Because wealth is not built in single dramatic moments of earning. It is built in the quiet, repeated discipline of keeping what others carelessly discard. The man who spends without thought is like a builder who pours water into a cracked vessel. No matter how much he pours, the vessel never fills. The wealthy, on the other hand, seal the cracks. They respect the smallest coin, knowing that the fortune is nothing more than a collection of small coins guarded well. Consider the difference in mindset. The average man says, "It is only a little, I will not miss it." The wealthy man says, "It is only a little, yet this little has power." One dismisses, the other values. And over years, that simple difference multiplies into staggering results. The habit of measuring before spending also creates patience. When faced with a choice, the wealthy pause. They ask, "Does this serve me tomorrow or only today?" If it serves only today, they let it pass. If it serves tomorrow, if it builds, multiplies, or strengthens, they choose it with confidence. This restraint, practiced over and over, keeps them free from the chains of waste and debt that hold so many others captive. When you respect what you already have, life tends to entrust you with more. Money, like time, flows toward those who use it with care. To squander it is to prove yourself unfit for greater responsibility. To measure it, to guide it with purpose, is to prove yourself ready for increase. Think of the mason again. He does not carelessly toss aside small stones. Each has its place, each adds strength to the wall. So too do the wealthy treat each coin as part of the fortress they are building. It may seem trivial to the careless eye, but in time, that fortress stands while others crumble. The habit is simple. Pause before you spend. Ask the question. Weigh the value. Respect the coin. This single discipline, repeated across years, creates the difference between fleeting comfort and lasting wealth. It is not the great fortune you acquire that makes you rich. It is the small fortune you refuse to lose. Learning as a daily ritual. The world imagines wealth as the product of opportunity, inheritance, or sudden brilliance. But the wealthy know otherwise. They know that fortune follows wisdom, and wisdom is gathered drop by drop, day after day. Rich people are lifelong students. Their wealth is not only in their bank accounts, it is in their minds. They read, they reflect, they seek out conversations with those wiser than themselves. Not in great dramatic marathons, but in steady, deliberate doses. A page a day, a lesson each morning, a new perspective gained through a quiet conversation. These small acts of learning compound into wisdom that over years becomes a priceless treasure. Why does this habit matter so much? Because ignorance is costly. The man who refuses to learn pays for it in poor decisions, in wasted time, in opportunities missed. The woman who assumes she knows enough is soon overtaken by one who never stops learning. Wealthy people understand that while money can be lost, stolen, or spent, knowledge cannot be taken. It multiplies in the mind, and from it springs better judgment, better choices, and better opportunities. Think of the farmer. He does not scatter seed blindly, hoping for luck. He studies the soil, he learns the seasons, he refines his methods. Each year his knowledge compounds, and with it his harvest grows. So it is with wealth. Learning ensures that effort is not wasted, that opportunities are recognized, and that mistakes become teachers rather than traps. The great divide between those who rise and those who remain is not simply effort, it is informed effort. Two men may labor equally hard, but the one who knows more, who has studied more, who has learned from the wisdom of others, will reap a harvest far greater. The wealthy commit to this truth. 1 hour of learning each day shapes decades of fortune. This learning is not random. It is purposeful. They seek out what strengthens their craft, what sharpens their mind, what broadens their understanding of the world. They are not content to repeat yesterday's thinking. They search for new ideas, fresh insights, deeper truths. In this way, they are always preparing for opportunities that others will overlook or be unprepared to seize. Most people think of learning as something that ends when school ends. But the wealthy never graduate from the school of life. They know that the world is their classroom, that every book is a teacher, that every mistake is a lesson. And because they remain students, they remain ahead. This daily ritual does not require genius. It requires humility. The humility to admit that there is always more to know, always more to understand. And humility, when paired with discipline, becomes wisdom. Wealth grows where wisdom grows. A man who learns a little each day, though it seems insignificant, will after years stand among those called wise, and wealth, both financial and personal, will follow him naturally. The wealthy never skip this micro-habit because they know that fortune favors the prepared mind, and the prepared mind is built not in sudden flashes, but in the quiet ritual of learning, day after day, year after year. Choosing long-term over immediate comfort. If there is one habit that separates the prosperous from the struggling, it is this: the ability to delay gratification. Wealthy people practice restraint. They skip the easy pleasure today in favor of the lasting gain tomorrow. This micro-habit of patience may appear small, but it is the cornerstone of prosperity. The average person seeks comfort. When hunger calls, he wants to satisfy it at once. When desire rises, he wants to indulge it without thought. When money enters his hand, he spends it quickly, eager for the fleeting feeling it brings. But the wealthy live differently. They understand that every choice has two costs: the cost of indulgence today or the reward of growth tomorrow. And they choose tomorrow. This does not mean they live joyless lives denying themselves everything. No, it means they understand proportion. They enjoy today in measure, but they invest the greater share in the future, for they know that comfort enjoyed too soon robs them of the greater comfort later on. Patience is their discipline. While others chase the excitement of immediate reward, they wait. While others spend the small coin on fleeting luxuries, they invest it. While others rest when the work grows heavy, they continue, knowing that tomorrow's harvest will justify today's sacrifice. It is not an easy habit. The human heart craves the now, but the wealthy train themselves to ask a different question: will this choice serve me years from now? If the answer is no, they let it pass. If yes, they pursue it with all their strength. This habit builds strength of character. Resisting the small temptation today makes it easier to resist the larger one tomorrow. And over time, restraint becomes second nature. What once felt like sacrifice becomes satisfaction, because they begin to see the fruit of their patience. The poor often look at the rich and say, they are fortunate. But fortune had little to do with it. It was patience. It was the steady refusal to eat the seed, the steady discipline of choosing long-term gain over immediate comfort. That is the true secret, and it is a habit anyone can adopt. So understand this: wealth is not built in the moment of indulgence. It is built in the moment of restraint. The decision to wait, to invest, to endure temporary lack. These are the choices that, compounded over years, create prosperity. To practice this habit is to declare, I will not sacrifice my future for my present. And those who live by it, though they seem to have less today, will always have more tomorrow. Finishing what they begin. Among the most overlooked qualities of the wealthy is their ability to finish what they start. Most people scatter their energy. They begin with excitement, chase a new project, a new idea, a new ambition, but soon their enthusiasm fades, and they abandon it half complete. The wealthy live by a different code. They do not scatter. They focus. They complete tasks, however small, and in doing so, they build a reputation with themselves, a reputation for reliability. This habit may seem ordinary, but it is extraordinary in its power. Every unfinished task weakens the mind. It plants doubt. I cannot be trusted to follow through. And that doubt grows, making it easier to abandon the next effort and the one after that. But every completed task strengthens resolve. It declares, I finish what I start. I can be trusted with small things, and therefore with greater things. The wealthy know that life entrusts more to those who prove faithful with less. A man who completes a small duty with diligence will one day be given larger responsibilities. A woman who honors a promise in little matters will one day be entrusted with greater ones. Finishing builds trust, not only with others, but with oneself. Wealthy people practice this habit relentlessly. They do not leave books unread, projects undone, promises unkept. Even in small matters, writing a letter, making a call, completing a calculation, they follow through. Not because each task is great, but because each task is practice. Each completion trains their mind to push through resistance, to silence excuses, to cross the finish line. Finishing what you begin builds momentum. The man who finishes a small task today gains the strength to finish a greater one tomorrow. Completion becomes a rhythm, a habit of the mind. And soon, he is not only finishing tasks, he is finishing goals, finishing projects, finishing dreams. Those who quit along the way rarely fail because the task was impossible. They fail because they grew accustomed to quitting. They built the habit of surrender, and that habit became their identity. But those who finish, even in small things, build the opposite habit. They become men and women for whom perseverance is natural, for whom completion is inevitable. Wealth is not merely a matter of money, it is a matter of character, and character is built in habits like this. The wealthy are not wealthier simply because they had more resources. They are wealthier because they proved reliable, and life entrusted them with more. So take this lesson to heart. Finish what you begin. However small, however unseen, complete the task. For each finished act is a brick in the fortress of your character, and a man or woman who finishes is unstoppable. So wealth does not arrive in a single stroke. It is not the lottery of fate, nor the sudden gift of chance. It is built, patiently, quietly, on the foundation of habits. Guard the first hour, and you command your day. Measure before spending, and you preserve your fortune. Learn daily, and your wisdom compounds into opportunity. Choose the long term, and you free yourself from the chains of impulse. Finish what you begin, and life will entrust you with more than you imagined. These are not grand gestures. They are not secrets hidden from the world. They are small acts, repeated faithfully. Yet together, they draw the line between those who dream of wealth and those who live it. Do not despise the small, for it is in the small that the great is born. And if you will keep these micro-habits, never skipping them, wealth, true wealth, will have no choice but to follow you.